Whispers of love. A kiss I can't undo. 3 years. That's how long I've loved him. The man who's about to become my husband. 3 years of holding hands, laughing together, and dreaming of a future where we'd call each other husband and wife. I thought I had it all figured out. I thought my heart had found its home, that everything was set, and all I had to do was keep walking down this path. But life's never that simple. Is it? There are moments, tiny mistakes you never see coming, that have the power to turn everything upside down. My name is Bitch Knock, and today I want to tell you my story. A story about love, about a reckless moment that changed me forever, and about the whispers in my heart I can't silence. Have you ever felt your heart split in two, torn between what you want and what you can't have? Stay with me, because maybe you'll find a piece of yourself in what I'm about to share. I still remember the first day I met him, my fiancé. It was a rainy afternoon, and I was standing under the awning of a little coffee shop, waiting for the downpour to stop so I could head home. A mutual friend had introduced us, and there he was, showing up with a warm smile, bright eyes, and a deep voice that instantly made me feel safe. He wasn't the kind of guy who sweeps you off your feet right away, he was the kind who grows on you, who makes you want to stay longer, dig deeper. We started with simple dates, coffee, movies, walks in the park, and before I knew it, I was in love. He's dependable, kind, and always knows how to make me laugh, even on my worst days. After 3 years together, we decided to take the next step, marriage. This fall, I'll put on a wedding dress, take his hand, and step into a new chapter of my life. I thought it was perfect. Until last summer, when everything changed. His family has 2 sons. He's the younger one, and his older brother, the man who'll soon be my brother-in-law, is the firstborn. I didn't know much about his brother in the early days of our relationship. My fiancé rarely mentioned him, and I didn't bother to ask. But as things got serious, as we started talking about the future, about building a life together, I knew it was time to learn more about the people who'd become part of my world. His parents are warm, welcoming people who treated me like a daughter from the start. They'd invite me over for dinner, include me in family gatherings, and I slowly began to feel like I belonged. But his brother, he was a mystery, someone I hadn't paid much attention to, until I couldn't ignore him anymore. He, the older brother, is the kind of person you can't overlook once you've met him. He's tall, with a confident stance and a deep, resonant voice that carries a pull I can't deny. He's single, successful, and has a rugged masculinity I hadn't noticed in anyone else, not even my fiancé. I remember the first time I saw him, at his mom's birthday party. He was standing in the corner of the room, holding a glass of wine, chatting with some relatives with a subtle, captivating smile. I glanced at him, gave a polite nod, and turned away, not thinking much of it. Back then, I had no idea he'd carve a space in my mind I couldn't erase. It all started last summer, during a family vacation his parents had planned. It's an annual tradition they cherish, a trip to the beach for the whole clan. I was invited along, and I eagerly said yes. I love the ocean, the way the waves crash against the shore and soothe my soul. And I thought it'd be a chance to bond with his family. The trip was packed with people. His parents, cousins, aunts, uncles, a loud, lively crowd full of laughter. We stayed in a small seaside resort, wooden cottages overlooking the endless blue water. During the day, we swam, played volleyball, and feasted on fresh seafood. I felt at ease, like I was already one of them. But that night, everything shifted. My fiancé and I had a fight. It wasn't anything major, just a silly disagreement about him spending too much time playing cards with his cousins instead of being with me. I snapped at him. He fired back with an annoyed tone. And then he stormed off, joining the guys for a night of drinking. I stood there in our little cottage room, anger simmering inside me like a flame. I didn't want to stay there. Didn't want to sit around waiting for him to cool off. I needed space, needed to breathe, so I slipped outside and started walking along the shore. The sky was full of stars that night, the moonlight casting a silver glow over the water, stretching out to the horizon. The waves rolled in steadily, the cool breeze tugging at my hair, carrying the salty scent of the sea. I walked barefoot, letting the sand slip between my toes, trying to let the ocean wash away my frustration. I didn't know his brother had followed me. Not at first. I only heard the faint sound of footsteps on the sand. Then turned to see him standing there, a few yards away, hands in his pockets, looking calm as if being there was the most natural thing in the world. "You okay?" he asked. His voice low and gentle, like he genuinely cared. I was a little surprised, but I didn't think much of it. He's my fiance's brother, soon to be family, and I figured he just wanted to make sure I wasn't lost or in trouble. "I'm fine," I said, my voice a bit stiff. "Just needed some air." He nodded, then stepped closer, not too close, but enough for me to feel his presence beside me. We started talking. At first, it was just small talk. About the weather, the waves, how everyone back at the resort was probably drunk by now. But then, somehow, the conversation deepened. He told me about his job, a creative, demanding career that he loved despite the stress. I shared stories about my own work, about little dreams I'd once had but never dared to chase. We laughed, we connected, and I realized I was starting to feel lighter. He had a way of talking that made me forget my anger, forget the distance between us. He wasn't just my fiance's brother anymore. He was someone who seemed to get me, in a way I hadn't expected. I don't know how it happened. One minute, we were standing there, chuckling over some silly story. And the next, our eyes locked. Under the moonlight, his eyes glinted, deep and unreadable, holding something I couldn't decipher. The waves kept crashing, the wind kept blowing, but everything else seemed to stop. My heart beat faster, a strange feeling rising in my chest. And then, in one impulsive, reckless moment, I leaned toward him, or maybe he leaned toward me. I'm not sure anymore. Our lips met, a brief kiss that left me dizzy. It wasn't long, wasn't intense, but it was enough to make me feel like the world had tilted off its axis. When I pulled back, my breath ragged, he looked at me, saying nothing, just a flicker of surprise followed by silence. We stood there, a few steps apart, as if neither of us knew what to do next. Then I turned and walked away, hurrying back to the resort, my mind a mess, too afraid to look back. Since that day, I can't forget, when we returned to the city, back to our normal lives, I tried to convince myself it was nothing, a fleeting mistake, something to bury and move on from. I love my fiancé, I really do. He's the man who's stood by me through tough days, who's held my hand when I wanted to give up, who I've chosen to build a family with. But that kiss with his brother, it's like a small cut, not deep, but it festers, refusing to heal. I told myself to let it go, to shove it down to the bottom of my heart. But every time I think I've succeeded, it resurfaces, sudden and uninvited. There are days when I'm sitting in my office, sunlight streaming through the window, and out of nowhere, I think of him. I hear his deep voice in my head, see the way he smiled when he told a funny story, feel the way he looked at me under that moonlit sky. I wonder if he thinks about me too, or if it was just a passing moment for him, not worth remembering. I hate myself for those thoughts. I hate how my heart races every time I catch a glimpse of him at family gatherings afterward. Those rare times he shows up, always keeping his distance, but his eyes still throw me off balance. I remember one afternoon a few months after the trip. I went to his parents' house for dinner with the family. He was there, sitting across from me at the long dining table piled with food. I tried not to look at him, tried to focus on his mom's chatter about wedding plans. But then I slipped and glanced over, and our eyes met, just for a second, but it was enough to stop my breath. He quickly looked away, picking up a conversation with someone else. But I knew he remembered too. I left that dinner with a heavy heart, unable to shake the image of him sitting there, just a few feet away, yet as distant as another world. Time passed, and our wedding crept closer. My fiancé and I started planning, picking out my dress, choosing a venue, writing our vows. He's excited, always holding my hand and talking about the house we'll build, the kids we'll have. I smile, nod, and try to lose myself in his joy. But inside, I'm a wreck. Every time I think about the wedding, I think about his brother. I picture him standing there among the guests, watching me walk down the aisle with his little brother. Will he smile? Will he act like nothing happened? Or will his eyes shake me again, like they did that night on the beach? There are nights when I lie in bed, my fiancé asleep beside me, and I stare at the ceiling, My mind flooded with questions. I love him. I really do. But why can't I forget his brother? Why'd I let my thoughts drift back to that moment? To the feel of his lips on mine? To the warmth of his breath mingling with the sound of the waves? I tell myself it was just a lapse. That I wasn't the one who started it. That he followed me, pulled me into that conversation. But deep down, I know I wanted it too. I leaned in. I let my feelings take over. And that terrifies me. Terrifies me that I'm not the woman I thought I was. That I don't deserve my fiancé's love. I've thought about confessing. So many times. I imagine sitting across from him in our cozy little apartment. Saying, "Honey, I need to tell you something." My voice trembling. "Last summer, I kissed your brother. Just once. But I can't forget it." I picture his face. Shock. Then hurt. Then anger. I wonder if he'd forgive me. Or if he'd get up. Walk out. And take our future with him. I want him to know the truth. Not just for me, but for his brother too. He needs to know the man he trusts followed me that night. Comforted me. Let it happen. I'm not entirely at fault. Am I? I was swept up. Vulnerable. But his brother. He was more aware. More in control. Doesn't that make him more to blame? But then I think, what's the point? Telling him would destroy everything, his trust. Their family. The wedding we've dreamed of. One kiss. One stupid, fleeting kiss. Could unravel it all. I don't want to be the one to break it. I don't want to be the betrayer in his eyes. So I choose silence. I tell myself time will dull the edges. That I can bury that kiss so deep it'll never resurface. But forgetting isn't as easy as I'd hoped. There are days when I pass by a beach near home. Not the one from that summer. But close enough to stir memories. I stop. Watch the waves. And suddenly he's there in my mind. I see him standing on the sand. Hands in his pockets. Hair ruffled by the wind. Moonlight on his face. I wonder what he's doing. If he ever thinks of me the way I think of him. I hate myself for it. Hate how it sneaks up on me without warning. I tell myself to stop. To focus on my fiancé. On the love I've chosen. But then, a second later, I let myself drift back. Let myself feel that night again. Even if just in my head. Once, I ran into him, my fiancé's brother, at a coffee shop. I was there with a friend. And he was sitting in the far corner. Alone, sipping a coffee and staring out the window. My heart pounded like it was trying to break free. I didn't know what to do. Walk over and say hi. Or pretend I didn't see him. I chose the latter, ducking my head and hurrying out. But as I passed by, I felt his eyes on me. Just for a moment, but enough to make me tremble. On the way home, I couldn't stop thinking about him. I wondered if he wanted to say something. Or if he's trying to forget too. I wondered if he feels guilty. Or if he sees it as a meaningless blip. Fall is closing in, and I feel like I'm standing on the edge of a cliff. Staring down into the abyss of my choices. I want to marry my fiancé. I want to stand beside him. Hold his hand, and promise to love him forever. But every time I think of that day, I think of his brother. I imagine him in the crowd. Those deep eyes watching me. And I don't know how I'll react. Will I smile at him like a sister-in-law should? Or will my gaze betray what I'm trying to hide? I'm afraid I won't be able to control my heart. Afraid that kiss will always be a ghost between us. Another family vacation is coming up. Another trip with his family. I lay in bed last night, thinking about it, and my chest felt heavy. How will I face him? What will I do when I'm standing in front of him? When the waves crash again? When the moonlight shines? I want to run, to find an excuse not to go. But I know I can't. I'm part of this family. Or will be soon. And I can't avoid him forever. I wonder if he'll bring it up. Or if we'll keep pretending it never happened. I'm scared that one look, one word, will spark it all again. And I won't be able to hold this secret any longer. I still love my fiancé. I really do. He's the man who's given me safety. Who's made me believe I can have a home. A family. But I can't deny that his brother left a mark on me. A mark one can't erase. No matter how hard I try. I don't know how to untangle this mess inside me. How to silence those whispers that won't let me go. I'm standing at the threshold of forever. And all I can hear is the echo of a kiss I can't undo. What about you? If you were me, what would you do? Would you tell the truth? Risk everything to ease your soul? Or keep quiet and hope time heals it? What would you do if one moment of weakness threatened to destroy all you hold dear? Share your thoughts with me in the comments. I really want to hear your story. Have you ever carried a secret you couldn't speak? Something that kept you up at night? Tell me, because maybe, just maybe, I'm not as alone in this as I feel.